This episode of Pete's Basement is brought to you by Pete's Basement Grill, home of the Optimus Prime rib.
What's up, guys? This is Pete from Pete's Basement, doing a special segment this week. Fiction and Science wrote us a letter on MySpace with probably one of the best questions I've ever been asked. You can find him on myspace.com/fiction and science, all spelled out. And he asked, in our opinion, what is the single best issue that we've ever read? You know, story arcs notwithstanding, just one particular good issue that stands out in your mind. And I didn't have to think about this one for too long. It came to me pretty quickly. My answer to that question is Peter Parker's Spider-Man number 75. This was the comic that I spent about 2 years waiting for. Back when I was in high school, I remember when the Clone Saga started, and this story was so bad, it upset me to a level that I couldn't even explain to you guys. I stopped reading comics altogether. You fucked with Spider-Man, the icon of the American comic book. You know, there's Superman and Batman, yeah. Spider-Man is everybody's favorite superhero. And, you know, to mess with a character with 25 years of history, to just erase those 25 years, you can't do that. And the Clone Saga did that. It was the story that single-handedly bankrupted Marvel Comics. And I remember when that happened, the only thing I was ever reading at the time was Wizard. I was tossing through it and just seeing what was going on with the industry, wasn't buying any issues. I was disgusted. And I just kept waiting and waiting, knowing that sometime soon, hopefully, they will put it back. And I can still remember opening up that Wizard sometime in '96, and I saw that full-page ad with the cover of Spider-Man number 75, and it said, "The Revelations Part 4, The Return of the One True Spider-Man." And that's when I knew it was time to come back. So I picked up the story arc, and I just knew, obviously, if they were running the story like that Peter Parker was coming back, get rid of this Ben Reilly shit, forget the Clone Saga ever happened, just apologize, we fucked up, we're putting it back. And it also established the Green Goblin as Spider-Man's definitive villain, because, you know, Spider-Man has one of the biggest rogues galleries in comics, and there was never really anybody that stood out. There was Venom, but by '96 they turned him into a good guy. There was Doc Ock, yeah, there was Electro, there was the whole Sinister Six, but nobody really stood out as somebody that would fuck with Spidey so bad that it would just get on his last nerve, like Batman has the Joker, Superman has Lex Luthor. This book defined the Green Goblin as Spider-Man's deadliest enemy. Somebody that has stood in the background for 25 years and fucked with his life by making this clone that would someday come and try to take over. And for a time he did take over, and for a time he was Spider-Man, and that was a stupid move, Marvel. Glad you learned your lesson. And I'm hoping that there will be a similar Spider-Man number 75 coming to erase this brand new day shit. Word to the wise. This has been Pete from Pete's Basement with my single greatest issue. And we'll turn you over to everybody else and see what the boys think.
So the question is, what is my favorite single issue of any title, any year, anything? And I'm going to go with issue 20 of Doom Patrol. Issue 20 was the second issue of Grant Morrison's inaugural run on the title. I think it was his second job at DC. And he picks up right after the major crossover that year, DC The Invasion, which was actually a very coherent, good crossover by any standards. That had a lasting impact on the title, had a lasting impact on the entire DC universe. For about 5 to 6 years, they were still using Fallout from that stuff. But issue 20 picks up after his very first issue, which picked up the pieces. The arc is called Crawling from the Wreckage. Cliff Steele, the protagonist, is shell-shocked. He is suicidal because he can't feel anything. He's a brain in a robot body. And Grant Morrison attacked that really hard. You know, the psychological effects of being in a weird world where people can fly and shit. Cliff Steele is the most normal character in the book. You have the Chief, who is this clinical borderline sociopath analog to Professor X. You have Rebus, who is, to date, in my knowledge, the only hermaphrodite in comic book history, as he is she. is a combination of Larry Traynor, who was wounded during the invasion, and his physician. And they merged physically into this weird creature that is wrapped in bandages, has man parts, girl parts, and is a really actually cool character if you can get past the whole gender bending shit. There's Crazy Jane, who has multiple personality disorder. Each personality has a different power. Grant Morrison wrote this fucking amazing. Middle of conversation, suddenly Crazy Jane would flip to another personality. Her, the artist Richard Case would draw her different depending on what personality was popping out. That shit was great. And this actual issue showed the introduction of a one-time enemy, the Scissormen, who were, by Grant Morrison's writing, a metafictional reality that were invading and eating our own reality a little bit at a time. Richard Case's artwork was good. This was the issue that really saw critical mass of Grant Morrison's weirdness, how he could tell a story, how he could write really great dialogue that was interesting and engaging, and have all this horrible, weird shit flying around, but still have characters that actually had some depth to them. And it really showed to me its impact as a kid was that it showed me the power and depth of the graphic storytelling medium. It was just really great and also scary story. I was a kid reading this shit and it read like a horror book to me in some ways, and it haunted me a little bit as a little kid and clearly fucked up my ammo a little bit. But I've been following Grant Morrison ever since. Issue 20, Doom Patrol, it really was the beginning of my relationship with Grant Morrison's writing. From there I moved on to a whole bunch of other stuff. Alan Moore, Warren Ellis, Garth Ennis, the whole, British invasion clique. And luckily, issue 20 is, as well as all the other issues of Grant Morrison's run, are collected these days by DC. I think they're up to volume 6 or 7. And that's it, man. I still recommend it. If you want to see Grant Morrison before he became the big star that he became, this is the one to do. And that is my favorite comic.
Hey, how you doing? It's Steve from Pete's Basement, and we're answering the question, how much Chuck would it... No, I'm kidding. What's your most single favorite issue of all time? And it's a hard question to answer, for obvious reasons, but I think my answer would have to be Spider-Man number 22. It's part 5 from the Revenge of the Sinister Six arc. I know we're not doing arcs, we're doing single issues, but this is my favorite issue. It's got Ghost Rider, Deathlock, Hulk, Sleepwalker, which I'm a little embarrassed about. I don't know if I should be. Write in and tell me if I should be. But you got Descent and the Sinister Six in the issue. From the Vulture, I mean, he's always dissenting. But in the last issue, which will splash up, the last page, excuse me, just shows Spidey being surrounded by everyone, with guns, and Gog. Gog just crushes the Hulk, Sleepwalker, and Ghost Rider in one single swoop, like whoosh, and Spidey's just left hanging there, like what the fuck, So this has got to be my favorite issue, and I hope you agree. If you don't, then there might be something wrong. I don't know. But thanks a lot, and ready for the next one. Adam, Ramon, who's next?
Recently on our MySpace page, we were asked which was our favorite book of all time. Now my book would have to be X-Men #1, Volume 2. Back in 1981, I remember picking this up. It was the second or third cover, the one with Wolverine and Cyclops on it, because I had to get Wolverine, of course. And it started a new story arc, new X-Men team. There was 2 groups of them now. And it starred Jim Lee. Jim Lee had just recently become like the thing in comic books. And the next 10 issues would definitely propel him to like the stratosphere, you know what I'm saying? He eventually left, went to Image, and became like a god. But oh man, that book said it all. It was just great spreads, great art, great everything. Penciling was sweet, the coloring was sweet. Story was, it was good. It was good. It was just great, and I remember picking that up, and that was my first true crazy comic book, and I picked it up and I was like gaga over it because I didn't know which other 4 books covers to pick up. Eventually later on I picked up the collected one, the E cover, with